Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naranam Namaskritya Naram Cha Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevi Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 5, Narad Muni cursed by Prajapati Daksha. Text number 37 onwards. So Daksha is very angry with Narad Muni and he's speaking further. Rinayastribhir muktanam amimansit karmanam vighata shreyasahat papa lokyor ubhayo kritaham. Prajapati Daksha said, my sons were not at all freed from the three debts. Indeed, they did not properly consider their obligations. O Narad Muni, of personality of sinful action, you have obstructed their path toward good fortune in this world and the next because they are still indebted to the saintly persons, the demigods, and the Father. So Daksha is so angry with Narad Muni, saying, my sons didn't even clear their debts. Every human being was born. Actually, he has so many debts to pay. But Narad Muni, you did not let them. So they have become sinful now. Purport. As soon as a Brahman takes birth, he assumes three kinds of debts. Debts to great saints, debts to the demigods, and debts to his father. The son of a Brahman must undergo celibacy, brahmacharya, to clear his debts to the saintly persons. He must perform ritualistic ceremonies to clear his debts to the demigods. And he must beget children to become free from his debts to his father. Prajapati Daksha argued that although the renounced order is recommended for liberation, one cannot attain liberation unless one fulfills his obligations to the demigods, the saints, and his father. Since Daksha's sons had not liberated themselves from these three debts, how could Narad Muni have led them to the renounced order of life? Apparently, Prajapati Daksha did not know the final decision of the Shastras. So Daksha was angry, but apparently Prajapati Daksha did not know the final decision. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Devarshi Bhutat Nirnam Pitrinam. Everyone is indebted to the demigods, to living entities in general, to his family, to the Pitas, and so on. But if one fully surrenders to Krishna, Mukunda, who can give one liberation, even if one performs no yagyas, one is freed from all debts. Even if one does not repay his debts, he is freed from all debts if he renounces the material world for the sake of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose lotus feet are the shelter of everyone. This is the verdict of the Shastras. Therefore, Narad Muni was completely right in instructing the sons of Prajapati Daksha to renounce this material world immediately and take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unfortunately, Prajapati Daksha, the father of the Haryashvas and Savalashvas, did not understand the great service rendered by Narad Muni. Daksha therefore addressed him as Papa, the personality of sinful activities, and a sadhu, a non-saintly person. Since Narad Muni was a great saint and Vaishnava, he tolerated all such accusations from Prajapati Daksha. He merely performed his duty as a Vaishnava by delivering all the sons of Prajapati Daksha, enabling them to return home back to Godhead. So Daksha was accusing Narad Muni that you did not let my sons clear off their debts, but he did not know actually that is mentioned about all these debts is mentioned in the ritualistic part, Karma Kanda part of the Vedas. But there is a higher knowledge as given in Srimad Bhagavatam. So if one surrenders, if one fully surrenders to Krishna, and here the Krishna's name that is mentioned is Mukunda. Mukunda is one who gives liberation. Then all these debts, they don't matter. Krishna takes care of all of them. The person is not indebted anymore because he's serving Krishna. Krishna is the source of everything. But the key word here is fully surrendered. So if one is fully surrendered, he's not obligated, but he still performs his duties towards to clear his debts because he has to set an example for others to follow. Yes, in this case, Haryashvas and Shvalashvas, they did not. But in general, a devotee still follows to whatever extent he can, so that people, society in general, don't imitate devotees. People just like to cut corners everywhere. If we think just by my one round of chanting, I've cleared all my debts to sages, to Pita, to the demigods, to Vedavyasi, to earth, it's not that easy. Evam tvam nir anukrushu balana mate bhiddhare parshad madhye charasi yashoha nirpatrapaha. Prajapati Daksha continued, thus committing violence against other living entities and yet claiming to be an associate of Lord Vishnu, you are defaming the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You needlessly created a mentality of renunciation and innocent voice, and therefore you are shameless and devoid of compassion. How could you travel with the personal associates of the Supreme Lord? So Daksha is really, really angry. So he is speaking so many things against Narad Muni. And as Prabhupada mentioned in the previous purport, that Narad Muni is a devotee, is a great saint. So he tolerated all such accusations, and he is standing there listening to everything. This mentality of Prajapati Daksha still continues even today. When young boys join the Krishna consciousness movement, their fathers and so-called guardians are very angry at the propounder of the Krishna consciousness movement. So propounder means the founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, because they think that their sons have been unnecessarily induced to deprive themselves of the material enjoyments of eating, drinking, and merrymaking. Karmis, fruity workers think that one should fully enjoy his present life in this material world and also perform some pious activities to be promoted to higher planetary systems for further enjoyment in the next life. This is the mentality of all the karmis, all the fruity workers. Let's enjoy this present life and do some yajna and some dan, some punya, so we can go to higher planetary systems and enjoy further. But what is that enjoyment? Just enjoying or trying to enjoy the senses. And nobody can enjoy the senses. Nobody can satisfy the senses of this material body. And more desires are there. Some will remain fulfilled, some will remain unfulfilled, some will remain partially fulfilled. And to complete those desires, again, one takes birth. It goes on and on and on and on. A yogi, however, especially a bhakti yogi, is callous to the opinions of this material world. He is not interested in traveling to the higher planetary systems of the demigods to enjoy a long life in an advanced materialistic civilization. As stated by Prabodhanand Saraswati, Kavalyam Narakaya, for a devotee, Merging into the Brahman existence is hellish. And life in the higher planetary systems of the demigods is a will o' the wisp, a phantasmagoria with no real existence at all. A pure devotee is not interested in yogic perfection, travel to higher planetary systems, or oneness with Brahman. He is interested only in rendering service to the personality of Godhead. Since Prajapati Daksha was a karmi, he could not appreciate the great service Narad Muni had rendered his 11,000 sons. Instead, he accused Narad Muni of being sinful and charged that because Narad Muni was associated with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord would also be defamed. Thus, Daksha criticized that Narad Muni was an offender to the Lord, although he was known as an associate of the Lord. So this is Daksha's thinking, that Narad Muni has committed offenses, and he's committed offense against Lord also because he is known as a constant associate of the Lord. So from his viewpoint, he is correct, actually. But from the viewpoint of the scriptures, from the viewpoint of, or from a higher angle, he's wrong. Nanu Bhagavata Nityam Bhutanu Grihe Katara Rite Tvam So Hridagram Vaivarankaram Avarinam. All the devotees of the Lord, but you are very kind to the conditioned souls and are eager to benefit others. Although you wear the dress of a devotee, you create enmity with people who are not your enemies, or you break friendship and create enmity between friends. Are you not ashamed of posing as a devotee when performing these abominable actions? So all the devotees of the Lord, but you, except you, are very kind to the conditioned souls. This is what Daksha is saying. Such are the criticisms that must be borne by the servants of Narad Muni in the disciplic succession. Through the Krishna consciousness movement, we are trying to train young people to become devotees and return home back to Godhead by following rigid regulative principles. But our service is appreciated neither in India nor abroad in the Western countries, where we are endeavoring to spread this Krishna consciousness movement. In India, the caste Brahmins have become enemies of the Krishna consciousness movement because we elevate foreigners who are supposed to be mlechas and yavans to the position of Brahmins. We train them in austerities and penances and recognize them as Brahmins by awarding them sacred threats. Thus, the caste Brahmins of India are very displeased by our activities in the Western world. In the West also, the parents of the young people who join this movement have also become enemies. We have no business creating enemies, but the process is such that the non-devotees will always be inimical towards us. Nevertheless, as stated in the Shastras, a devotee should be both tolerant and merciful. Devotees engaged in preaching should be prepared to be accused by ignorant persons, and yet they must be very merciful to the fallen, conditioned souls. So this is the test. This is a test of a devotee to see how much tolerance he has cultivated in himself. Tolerance, patience, humility. If even in this such a situation when we are being accused wrongly, or somebody misunderstands our activities, which are full of compassion or well-wishing, or just well-wishing activities, but people can misunderstand or misconstrue those activities. And the devotees get accused of wrongdoing. Many times they get put into the jail. Many times they get killed also. Even in ISKCON it has happened. Many devotees got killed by the public. But this is devotee. He is very, very tolerant. Because ultimately he understands whatever happens in the life of a devotee, it's all orchestrated by Krishna for the devotee's ultimate benefit. That's all. He knows that. And Prabhupada has given an example of just like Jesus Christ. He was crucified. And what was his crime? He just tried to preach God consciousness. Not just Jesus Christ, all his nearby associates, everybody was killed. Because they were trying to promote God consciousness. And look at now, today, Christianity is the biggest religion. So people, this is what people want to do. They just want to suppress those who want to preach the message of God, the clear or correct message of God. And as Prabhupada said, now since we are making Brahmins outside India among the people of Western countries, Brahmins in India, the Smarta Brahmins or the caste Brahmins, they are angry with us. They don't like us. And parents outside in the Western countries, they don't like us because we are teaching their sons proper life. So everywhere we get blamed. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, for one who explains the supreme secret to the devotees, devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end he will come back to me. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be more dear. Let us continue preaching the message of Lord Krishna and not be afraid of enemies. Our only duty is to satisfy the Lord by this preaching, which will be accepted as service by Lord Chaitanya and Lord Krishna. We must sincerely serve the Lord and not to be deterred by so-called enemies. In this verse, the word Sohrid Ganam, a breaker of friendship, is used because Narad Muni and the members of his disciplic succession disrupt friendships and family life. They are sometimes accused of being Sohrid Ganam, creators of enmity between relatives. Actually, such devotees are friends of every living entity, Suridam Sarvade Bhutana, but they are misunderstood to be enemies. Preaching can be difficult, thankless task, but a preacher must follow the orders of the Supreme Lord and be unafraid of materialistic persons. So that is another accusation that devotees are considered that you break the friendships, you break the relationships. Well, we just preach the message of Krishna. And if by hearing the message, somebody becomes attracted to Krishna and the path of devotion service, means it is natural that he will not be interested in some mundane relationships anymore. Or he won't spend much time with the relatives. And this really bothers others, really bothers. Netham punsam viragasya tvaya kevalina vrisha manyase yad shamam sneha pashanikrantanam. Prajapati Daksha continued, if you think that simply awakening the sense of renunciation will detach one from the material world, I must say that unless full knowledge is awakened, simply changing dresses as you have done cannot possibly bring detachment. Prajapati Daksha was correct in stating that changing one's dress cannot detach one from this material world. The sannyasis of Kali Yuga who change their robes from white to saffron and then think they can do whatever they like are more abominable than materialistic grihasthas. This is not recommended anywhere. Prajapati Daksha was right in pointing out this defect, but he did not know that Narad Muni had aroused the spirit of renunciation in the Haryashvas and Svalashvas through full knowledge. Such enlightened renunciation is desirable. One should enter the renounced order with full knowledge, Gyan Vairagya. For the perfection of life is possible for one who renounces this material world in that way. This elevated stage can be reached very easily as supported by the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. If one seriously engages in devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, Gyan and Vairagya are automatically manifest in one's person. There is no doubt of this. Prajapati Daksha's accusation that Narad had not actually elevated his sons to the platform of knowledge was not factual. All the sons of Prajapati Daksha had first been raised to the platform of Gyan and then had automatically renounced this world. In summary, unless one's knowledge is awakened, the renunciation cannot take place, for without elevated knowledge, one cannot give up attachment for material enjoyment. So this knowledge, this elevated knowledge that Daksha is talking about, is not having full knowledge of all the Vedas and this and that. No. The first elevated knowledge is I'm not this body, I'm a spirit. That's and then like who's God? Krishna is God. What's my relationship with God and how to work on that relationship? This is all the knowledge we are talking about. But Prabhupada says, yes, knowledge is important, but devotional service, when we render, it automatically gives one knowledge and detachment from the material world. Because it produces so much of attachment for Krishna. And that is renunciation, actually. That is detachment. That's a real detachment. In fact, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and then he went to Jagannath Puri, Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas at the age of 24. And he went to Jagannath Puri, he saw Lord Jagannath, and he fainted in the temple, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took him home. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a big scholar. He was a guru of the king. King Prataparudra was his student. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu home, and then after a while, all the devotees, Nityanand Prabhu, Mukunda, and others, they came. And it was found Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he just fell unconscious. His breath was still going on. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya decided to keep Mahaprabhu at his house. Actually, this was how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going to give mercy to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So when Mahaprabhu came to his senses, and after a few days, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya tells him that you have taken sannyas at such a young age, and you are very handsome, very charming. How will you be able to keep or follow the vows of sannyas without full knowledge? And I only see you as chanting and dancing, no knowledge. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said that I will give you knowledge. I'll teach you Vedanta. So by having the knowledge, you can, the chances are you can carry on or continue with the vows of sannyas ashram, because sannyas ashram is very difficult. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed. So it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita that for 7 days, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gave him the knowledge of Vedanta Sutra. It wasn't 7 days, day and night, continuously like Shukdev Goswami preaching to Parikshit Maharaj. But 7 days he kept on talking. And Mahaprabhu was listening to him. And after a while, Shambhav Bhattacharya got tired. He said, "You're not saying anything, you're not asking any questions. So is everything clear or you have any doubts?" And Mahaprabhu said, "Well, the knowledge of Vedanta Sutra is very clear, clear like sun. But your explanation, your commentary on it is just like a cloud covering the sun. You're obscuring the real meaning of Vedanta Sutra." And hearing that, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was completely baffled. He was like, "What happened here? My explanations are wrong." And Mahaprabhu explained. And then Mahaprabhu, if you remember, in the first canto, we read this Atmaram shloka. There's a shloka starting with Atmaram. And Mahaprabhu asked Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to give this explanation to Atmaram verse. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya gave. I don't remember. I think he gave 9 different explanations, something like that. And Mahaprabhu said, "See, that's where the problem is. This doesn't tell the whole meaning." And Mahaprabhu gave, I think, 61 different explanations of Atmaram verse without even touching the explanations by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And then, obviously, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya understood the position of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But what point is, knowledge is very, very important. And not for renouncing everything, but to develop detachment. But the real detachment that for a devotee that he is hankering for, when he gets attached to Krishna, then automatically everything becomes tasteless. There is no taste, there is no beauty in anything material, actually. So Narad Muni had given the sons of Daksha the real knowledge. And since they were so qualified, they just heard one verse and that's it. Took up the process and left home, left all their material duties, and just went back. Okay, so I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
Prabhuji, wishing you a happy Krishna conscious birthday, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mata.
Thank you so much for doing the deep cleaning for us every day. And I would like to thank you especially because of you and your pastimes of Jagannath Ji that you say all the time. I think that motivated me to get Jagannath Ji to my home. So thank you so very much. And thank you for everything, Prabhuji. There are certain things where you can't, express yourself. I mean, how, you cannot say ki, how you feel for it, but really I am very indebted to you, Prabhuji, for everything, and to many of the devotees in this group. So one of you are one of the pillars where because of you I came into this movement and I got a lot of support. So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mata. Actually, Jagannath Ji wanted to come to your house. He just came. And all of you have been cultivated very nicely by Radha. I didn't do anything.
But Prabhuji, you were also there when I joined Radha Prabhu. Yes, he was the first one who got into this. But then you were also there. I mean, constantly, many times you have come to Steria, and then उस time पे पता नहीं, we were never that very serious. मतलब now I wouldn't say I'm very serious also, but then we realize how much we took things for granted at that point in time. So that's the thing, Prabhuji.
I wish I can also become serious like you.
Saswati Mataji, Vidurpriya Prabhuji has the quality of not taking credit of anything. ये उनका बड़प्पन है. वो कभी भी कुछ भी अपने
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
कभी नहीं
I'm
देते.
just telling the truth. I'm telling the truth.
This is
You
sublime
only told
humility.
so many facts about Jagannath ji. I was like, oh my God, I have to get him. तो आप नहीं बताते तो शायद वो कभी आते ही नहीं. प्रभु जी, यही तो मैं आपका है, आप मानो या ना मानो.
Jagannath is completely independent. He is Supreme Lord. He can go anywhere he wants to. Who am I?
I think that.
Prabhuji, there is something called influence. तो वो influence मिला हमें आपसे. And because of that, Aditi Amrish, my kids also, morning they are reading Bhagavad Gita. They have started just looking at me. They have started doing that. So it's all stepwise coming from you only.
That's because you are
Seriously,
a
Prabhuji.
Ayodhya Vasi. You are a Dham Vasi.
Prabhuji, Ayodhya Vasi
You
se
have all
zyada
the mercy
aapka
of Ram.
It's because of your Sanidhya, Prabhuji. I believe. That's it. That's all.
I'm trying to do my survey.
Even I want to say something. Happy birthday, Prabhuji. Wish you a very,
Thank
very
you,
happy
Mata.
birthday. Yes,
Thank
you
you,
are.
Mata.
Yes. Even Vidurpriya ji is one person who showed me the path of Krishna. And I can never forget, Prabhuji, what you've done for me. So thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for everything, Prabhuji. So
Thank you, Mata.
I wanted to, anyway, tomorrow I'm going to prepare a bhajan for Prabhuji's special birthday.
Arey wah.
Yes, I'm
Hari
going
bol,
to
Hari
sing
bol.
for you. Yes. As tomorrow is your birthday, even there, so I'm going to prepare that bhajan for you first time. Okay, Prabhuji?
Okay, Mata. Okay, Mata.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mata. Chalo, thank you all. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Jai Shri Radhe.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much.